Hey guys, what's up? Today I have an interview Q&A with the staff from Whitemane for you. I talked to Foster, this is one of the admins, the project leads, and with Sylah Umehara, this is one of the GM staff members. There were some technical issues with sound. I tried to combat that as much as possible. That's why you have sometimes fluctuation in the volume and sometimes the sound sounds dull. Forster pretty much was a bit nervous and had a busted microphone, so I tried to filter that out and put a filter on top of it, so these sounds won't blow your ears out. If you have any questions, you don't know what was said, leave me a comment and with a timestamp if that would be possible, and I would try to help you guys. But I think you should understand that completely fine after the editing. Having said that, enjoy the rest of the footage, and timestamps are in the description and in the pinned comment, and have a nice day and stay safe out there. Bye bye. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Foster. I have been around private servers for a very long time now. I've volunteered as a staff member on a lot of large projects like Elysium, Sunwell, and obviously Whitemane. I have been in a lot of smaller projects as well, but this is my first server being an administrator on. What I really bring to the team is a player-first model of support. As a player myself, players should always come first in a community and on a server. I mean, a lot of projects kind of lose track of that and kind of get stuck in their own way of kind of thinking, bringing in their own egos into things. What I really value about servers is bring the community first.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. That makes me really happy because I think so too. A lot of servers, or more like the ones that run the servers, tend to make this an ego thing, yeah, or just to make a quick buck. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. It should be about the community.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. And I am Sylah. I'm one of the game masters on the Whitemane project. I also have a service background to myself and was recruited around about the end of December, early January. So I'm very happy to be part of the team, and I believe that we've got one of the best teams out there for player focus.
I would say let's get into just the basics for now, and then we go on to more advanced questions. So, would you like to start telling us about your project?
Yeah, of course. So this is Whitemane. We're hosting a progressive Cataclysm server that's mostly Blizzlike, but using a lot of different quality of life features, kind of to make the rougher parts of World of Warcraft a little bit smoother and more intuitive for players. One of the unique things about our server is we're using a launcher, which is updating the client side patches, which allows us to kind of change the user interface of the game. We have a lot of more flexibility to change the game in ways other servers can't. That means like we can add, for example, custom items that might have existed in future expansions. We're probably planning on bringing in battlegrounds from newer content and bring it back over to Cataclysm to kind of phase out the ones that are a little bit less popular. It really unlocks a whole lot of things that we can do. We're going to be taking advantage of that for sure. Beyond that, we are going to kind of be changing up the game a little bit in a bunch of different little ways that I'm sure we'll go into a little bit more in depth here.
I would just ask you some questions then. Maelstrom will be the server name, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And Whitemane is the project name. We've been working on this server for quite a long time. Unfortunately, that means that we've had previous launch dates that have fallen through, but really what we care about is a really good quality Cataclysm server.
Do you want to go into detail what happened?
Yeah, sure. Whitemane originally started out hosting Wrath of the Lich King server called Mograine, and then afterwards we hosted another one called Sindragoza, which was kind of seasonal, but the second season kind of flopped. During that time, we acquired Atlantis's old core for Cataclysm and began working on it. We had some high expectations because, back then Atlantis's Cataclysm core was so renowned. It was very, very popular, very well known. So we made some launch dates that kind of fell through in the last couple years because we didn't realize the magnitude of fixes required to bring it up to date as a modern server.
Will Maelstrom be a PvE or PvP server?
think I can take the lead on that one then. So the realm type is PvP. However, we do have a strong focus on both aspects. We have PvP GMs for PvP balancing and events, and we've also got other members, including myself, on the PvE side. So we'll be thinking about events and such to help progress both at the same pace.
What rates will there be?
So advertised on our server, we currently have a ×3 rate from level 1 to level 60. And unique to our server, we are allowing players to level skip from level 60 to level 80. We do say that this is about Cataclysm, it's not the Burning Crusade or Wrath of the Lich King. So after you've got through the 1 to 60 experience, you will then be given a quest to level instantly to level 80, obtain some gear, and start questing in the Cataclysm zones.
I do want to mention that that is an optional feature. So if players do want to play through TBC and Wrath of the Lich King, they definitely can. It's just not the focus on our server. We believe, if you want to play Wrath of the Lich King, you can go on a Wrath of the Lich King server, that our players are here to play Cataclysm.
When will you launch Maelstrom?
Well, unfortunately, we are going to be announcing one final delay. So we will most likely be launching in March. I don't have the date right now. We actually are planning on announcing this today as the time of this recording. We have been doing dedicated raid and dungeon testing, and that, in addition to the current bug reports, our testing has just gone amazing. It's gone above and beyond what we would have expected. We have some really, really dedicated testers out there doing a good job, and our developers want to continue to work a little bit more before launch. Unfortunately, it means that we are going to delay again to March 2023, but that'll definitely be the last delay.
Yeah, well, better you have something that is near perfect, or it's playable and don't have so much trouble. Then it makes totally sense.
Yeah, it's one of those bittersweet things, double-edged sword. Definitely, if I could, I would release it right now today. And I know players always hate to hear delays, but I think in the end, it's for the best.
Yeah, I second that as well. And for our testers that we've had, most of them are accepting of the news. They do want us to release a full completed project rather than something that's scraped together, and that's not the experience we want our players to have. Yeah, we're planning, I know we're trying to keep open with all of our communications. Foster and Gaga have been posting up updates on the PTR a lot to keep players informed. And there's also myself and Game Master Mully that are running around that are happy to answer questions for anyone that's in-game.
Where is the server located and what provider are you using?
Foster.
I think that most servers that are looking at anything over like 3,000-ish population, I don't think that there's many other server hosting options that can really support servers the way players expect them to. So we're going to be using OVH. That is located in France.
Ah, yeah, that's pretty cool. They are really stable from what I've seen.
Yeah, they're solid. One of the things that we've done in the past that we might do here is we use proxy servers as well, kind of the ability to change your realm list name based on your location, and it kind of helps your ping a little bit if you're like me, North America or Australia or whatnot.
That's cool. Is this do you kind of hit your microphone or something like this, because there's some disturbance?
Oh yeah, I'm hitting my microphone, and this is such a sensitive microphone too.
Okay.
My bad.
No problem. It's okay.
Yeah, I get fidgety a lot, so you're probably hearing all little fidgets.
I have I don't know how it's pronounced in English, but I'm playing with something in my hands as well. I know that. I know that feeling.
Well, that needs a bit of context.
Yeah. Well, it's for my beard, So. No, I know that.
Person I am.
That's totally fine. I mean, I played Final Fantasy XIV as well, so yeah.
Hey.
I know what's up.
Hell yeah.
Is there going to be a geolock?
No, I don't think we're going to have a geolock. we're actually going to be expanding on our locales. Most Cataclysm servers obviously are not, there's a lot of closed source, there's not many open source Cataclysm cores, and what you'll find in most of them is they do not have different localizations. They don't have all the languages, so they only pretty much have the English version of the game. And one of the things we're doing here is expanding on that, so you can use the French client, you can use the Chinese client, you can use any client that's available from Blizzard will be available here. So no, definitely no geolock. We're actually going to be expanding on the amount of people that can access the game. I think that's like one of those things that eventually, when we are ready to move on from Cataclysm, something that we definitely want to share to open source cores. You know, I think that Cataclysm is a perfectly great expansion and kind of gets a bad rep in the WoW community, but I think there can be a lot of changes to it that make it a really fun expansion.
Yeah, I can say that because I'm not really a big fan of Cataclysm, but I will give it another go with your guys' project here. For me, it's always the first free vanilla TBC and Wrath of the Lich King. And yeah, the cardinal sin for me was when they completely destroyed the old world.
You know, it's funny. I'm exactly the same way. This is my first endeavor to anything beyond Wrath of the Lich King. I've never played Cataclysm or anything beyond that. Fortunately, I'm the administrator that's more in charge of the community and our team, our staff team, and players. So I don't. I leave the more technical aspects of Cataclysm to our developers and our other administrator, Gaga.
Sounds good.
As I honestly adored Cataclysm. Even the destruction of the world I didn't mind because I was already level 80 when Cataclysm hit. But yeah, I adore this expansion and I'm very happy that we're doing Cataclysm.
Yeah, there are quite some people that like it as well. I thought pretty much the private server scene was more like really the first three games or expansions, however you want to call it. But yeah, I think a lot of people want an actual good home for Cataclysm. How are you gonna monetize your project?
Well, first of all, I think it needs to be very clearly said, we are not going to be a pay-to-win server. We're not going to be ever selling any gear or anything like that that's going to give players an advantage over others. We will have a donation shop for vanity items such as mounts and pets and transmog and things like that. One of the things that I think is important, though, considering players first, is that things that are available in the store should have some way to achieve in-game without paying, and we will be doing that through events. And actually there will be a lot of events that will have mounts and other vanity objects that won't be in the store. So really what I think matters is putting the players first, making sure they have an enjoyable experience over cash grabbing, doing $200 Spectral Tiger mounts and like other servers do.
Yeah, I'm glad that you say that because I am in the belief if you do something like this is not a small feat. I think you should get something in return. And I'm glad when you let the community actually help with that, like actual crowdfunding, because I think we all know this in the private scene. There's a lot that goes behind closed doors, especially with gold selling and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm glad that you are open to pretty much that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's kind of absurd that some servers will claim that they are able to pay for a large server entirely by themselves, are acting, in these kind of ways. Obviously, you need to kind of create some form of income for a server to support itself and expand on itself. Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors that I don't really, believe that, not having a store or anything like that. I think that's more dishonest than having a store.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, personally, I'm North American, so there's 0% chance I'm getting any personal finances from this server. I am not going to have Blizzard breathing down my neck. No, thank you. So I think that we will support our developers, and we will be using finances to continue pushing for a larger population outreach, as well as development on future expansions and custom content.
Yeah, sounds good. I would say let's get into the more advanced questions then. Is there a timeline for the server, and if not, when will it be released?
We do not have a timeline released right now. I've been discussing it with the administrator and developers. A lot of it has constraints based on development. In the Cataclysm community, there's a lot of popular patches, and then there's a lot of unpopular patches. So we're not going to have like solidified phases similar to how Blizzard is handling Classic. We will probably have certain patches that go longer than others based on players' preferences, and we'll definitely have a timeline released before our launch.
For people who never played Cataclysm before, what would make your project more ideal for first-timers?
I think I can take that one then. So, main thing is, obviously, Cataclysm for majority of people who are used to playing on, say, TBC, Wrath, or any other private server, this will be, first off, their Cataclysm experience, which we're hoping will be a complete experience without the issues that Blizzard left Cataclysm with. I know a lot of people that may come to the server may think, oh, it's another server, I need to grind from level 1 to level 85, but with our level skip, we're hoping that players can go through the 1 to 60 experience to learn how their class behaves in Cataclysm with the new features, like the new talent trees and such, and then go straight to the heart of it. You know, people have already been through Outland, been through Northrend several times. Although, as Foster said, they do have the option to do that, but our focus is Cataclysm. So if they want, they can go straight to level 80 and get started in with the Cataclysmic zones. We also have a really supportive player base as well. Most of the time there are people on the PTR as we speak. I'm actually logged into the game right now, and there's people chatting about things like how to play certain classes with it. We have a lot of really experienced players on, and we also have some fantastic support staff as well. You know, I don't want to pull my own tail, but I've been there a lot. I'm known as the game master that gives everyone cake. So we're also there to answer anyone's questions as well, via world chat or even via say if people are on the PTR near us.
Sounds good, especially that with the cake.
Oh, you should see my inventory. It's Foster can confirm I have so much cake in there.
Well, you know, like old school Blizzard GMs, they would always make very personal experiences for players. A lot of the times, you know, if you're involving a GM, it's something that's, you know, an inconvenience to you. So I think that having that kind of spirit of that old school spirit of, you know, making it an enjoyable experience is very, very important.
That was one of the first things I sent to Foster when I got hired on. It was the idea of the delicious chocolate cake, asking, can we keep this?
Oh, sounds good.
I do want to say, though, that beyond what Sylah mentioned, we have for new players, we do a couple other things such as increasing the experience rates. So Cataclysm levels a little bit more linearly than previous expansions. It's a lot of chain quests that require you to kind of go from one to the other. You can't just kind of skip around as much as you can in previous expansions. So we have increased the XP rate as far as we can to keep that in a healthy state. So we're kind of balancing the reality of Cataclysm questing with making it easier for players. There's a ton of little things that we're adding in that'll make it more intuitive for players, such as like automatic spells, which means that you're no longer going to need to go back and buy spells every single time you level up. It's just going to automatically pop up on your account or your character. And same with like mounts, for example. Warlocks need to work on this entire quest chain on their own just to get a mount, and we've just bypassed that. It's kind of it's good for the lore, I guess. You know, you're kind of getting more into what it means to be a warlock in World of Warcraft. But when you ding the correct level, you'll just automatically get a mount.
Yeah, I should also mention as well that same for, I know that Vincent and Foster, both of you were talking about the world being broken and that being the cardinal sin. We've actually also enabled players to have every single flight path as well. So you will not need to worry about struggling, like, how do I get from the northern barons to the southern barons? All the flight paths are there.
Yeah, I think things like that, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you are re-entering WoW for like the fourth, fifth time, whatever, those kind of things get really tiresome really fast. And I know personally some people that will be like, I don't want to play Warlock because of this. I don't want to play Shaman because I have to get all these different totems. And I think just kind of smoothing that out is a net good.
Will there be some more other smallish gimmicks or quality of life features?
Yeah, so we've got quite a few. Obviously, the first mention, I believe, is our server is cross-faction, so you can have cross-faction groups, cross-faction raids. Obviously, we've mentioned the flight path and the increased leveling. We also have a system unique to us called Ancestral Wisdom, which will be whenever when your first character hits level 85, the max level, it will also increase the XP and reputation gain by all of the characters that you have and any future characters you make by 15%, and we are going to allow that to stack on top of itself. I don't think we've sussed out if it will be a 15% per character. Foss, I'm sure you can correct me on that shortly. We also have the racial shift feature that's, I feel, very unique to us. I know it was a big selling point of Mulgrain, where players no longer need to feel that they have to play a certain race to gain an edge. For example, I love Worgen. I've always been a Worgen player since it was released. But if I wanted to play an Orc and I wanted to have double trinkets in PvP, as long as my class that I play can be accessible by, say, a human, I can then take the human racials instead of the Orc ones. So I can play the character that I want, but have the racials that I want as well.
I think adding on to that, with racials, it's kind of unfortunate that the WoW community does this, but really, since this is an older game, everyone knows what is the best, the best stats, best mechanics, what best compositions, best items, gear, BIS. People also tune into racials. So I think personally racials are one of the biggest nuke traps, and in earlier expansions, players will pick what they like, especially new players. They pick their race based off their personal preferences and not what's the best. And it's just a massive noob trap, and it's not very fair. And it actually will, on many servers, dictate faction balance. So racial shift definitely eliminates all of that. And I think it's objectively a great feature. I think, personally, most all servers should have that, and should just be a standard for World of Warcraft. As far as Ancestral Wisdom, yeah, I don't know if we're going to be doing that 15%. I know that we will definitely have this feature, but that 15% was based on our previous experience rates. We had some polling and discussions with the community, and the community wanted us to increase the experience rates as much as we can on the server. So that 15% was based on our previous experience rates. So we haven't released what the new one will be for alts using Ancestral Wisdom, but we'll have that announced before launch. And just to expand on cross-faction, we are having an entire cross-faction. So your guild, your party, questing, our random dungeon finder, battlegrounds, literally everything has the capability to be cross-faction. There is pretty much, the only thing that isn't is just those specific faction-specific quests that won't make too much sense if Horde is doing an alliance-only quest.
It sounds good. I would take then the one question I got. Are there any securities being put in place towards ensuring faction balance, like incentives for or anything of that nature, login feature?
Yeah, I would say so. Before we did racial shift, there was a bit of faction imbalance, but you would be surprised at how much racial shift fixed faction imbalance in our Wrath of the Lich King servers. We were sitting at a pretty 50-50, 49-51 ratio between factions, pretty much the entirety of our progression. I think that a lot of the cross-faction plus racial shift really eliminates that entire idea of faction balancing. The real important factor at play are those faction-specific PvP events, which we have dedicated PvP GMs that are going to be really watching that closely. If we need to introduce more faction balancing, I don't think that we will do restrictive faction balancing, such as restricting the ability to create new characters on a certain faction. If we need to implement anything new, first of all, it's going to be discussed with the community, but it will probably be something more on the line of incentives.
So pretty much like buffs or something like that?
Buffs or, maybe special vanity items, anything that kind of pushes people over, free faction transfers. But honestly, I don't want to be cocky, but we're pretty confident when it comes to faction balancing with the features that we have.
Yeah, I mean, that feature sounds pretty amazing, so...
I mean, the reality here is that we want to eliminate the need for viewing factions, like faction imbalance, as being a bad thing, Even if our server was completely imbalanced, it was 10% alliance, 90% horde, you'd still be able to find raids as the 10%, you'll be able to find a guild as the 10%, it won't be like there's any real limitation to what you can do. Obviously, we don't want that. We want to aim for 50-50, but it's really not something we're too worried about.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand this, the community in general, or not everyone, of course, but a huge chunk is extremely focused on population numbers. Will there be a difference between the meta classes in original Cataclysm and the Maelstrom Cataclysm?
So far, we've all have talks about this, and I think we're all on the same page here. We're going to try and stay true to the retail Cataclysm experience, but, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, so Foster, please tell me to be quiet. We have had talks about potential class rebalancing at the end of the life cycle, but as to answer the question, we are aiming for the true Cataclysm experience. Meta will exist regardless of what kind of changes we try and do. You'll always have your players that are playing your Death Knights, your rogues and such. We don't want people to feel that they can't play a certain class or spec, but so far we're just going to aim to get everything working as it was, if not slightly better.
Yeah, for sure. We want to keep the heart of Cataclysm true to the game. Someone that is a veteran Cataclysm player should be able to come here and feel like this is Cataclysm. A lot of the features that we're introducing are meant to kind of elevate and boost up players while retaining the real heart of the game. We have our competition in Cataclysm, and we are constantly putting out just tons and tons of bug fixes. For this server's life, we are focused on really polishing the quality of Cataclysm. We want to obtain that perfect Blizzlike quality. And then towards the end, when things get a little bit more stale content-wise, we might be looking into a little bit more custom features.
Yeah, that is, I got this question. It's a loaded one. I heard people talking about that there is no good Cataclysm core at the moment. What core are you using, and what can you tell us about it in general?
Yeah, this is really a shame of World of Warcraft communities. A lot of old school Cataclysm servers have kept their cores 100% closed source, as opposed to vanilla Wrath of Lich King, these really popular expansions. When you look deep into it, the reality is that these further along expansions like Cataclysm, their open source cores, it's not playable. So yeah, as far as open source cores for Cataclysm, there's no good one. You can't decide to host it yourself and have happy players. It's messed up. They put in a lot more advanced mechanics in Cataclysm that don't work very easily, as opposed to something like vanilla. We are using Atlantis' Dragon Wrath fork. It is back in the day, it was one of the most popular Cataclysm servers. It has held up in a lot of different ways and not held up in a lot of other ways. We've been doing a lot of dedicated testing, and it's pretty funny hearing the responses that one dungeon is working perfectly, 100% scripted, everything looks amazing, nothing to report, and then another one, and even the most basic functions are broken. Which is why we are putting in so much work and effort into this server. I think we're well past 500-600 bug fixes just within the last month. So yeah, it's not not a perfect core, but I think that what our strength is the speed and quality of our fixes. I don't think that can be ignored.
Yeah, and I'll echo that as well, because the tester group is something that Foster and I have pretty much dedicated quite a bit of our time to now. And I usually sit and observe most of the testers from a game master perspective, and to hear them in calls say, wow, this fight works, in other servers it doesn't, and then another one, they'll say this fight is completely incompletable and we need to do bug fixes. It makes me laugh every time.
I was actually talking to one of our PvP GMs who has been testing our Battlegrounds and Arena, and he was surprised that the more advanced Battleground works perfect, but the very basic one is totally broken. Hearing those kind of things, it doesn't worry me as an administrator working on this project, because we know we can fix this stuff easy. It's not going to be very difficult. Obviously, we do have to delay into March, but we're pretty confident we'll have everything ready by then.
I mean, it's a pretty good problem to have when the more advanced things work and the easier ones are broken, so it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, we do have our load of work ahead of us. This core was in definitely a state where you can tell it hadn't been worked on for 6 or 7 years until we picked it up. But we've gotten a couple of years of work into it, and we're continuing to work on it every day. So I think that by the time we launch and afterwards, people will be satisfied with the quality.
Cool. Could you repeat the name of the core?
Yeah, it's Atlantis' Dragonwrath core.
All right, thank you. There were some, some sounds there in between.
Sorry.
All good. I try my best then to clean this up. Don't worry about it. I understand it.
Foster's just hungry. He needs to have a snack, don't you?
I'm just trying to stand perfectly still right now.
The next question would be where to post bugs and in-game issues. Does the in-game ticket system work?
For any kind of bugs and in-game issues, we have scripted as far as Game Master Hickey has told us, that the bug report system is working and it will feed through to the devs. We're still putting some final touches on it. So far, in our Discord server, we do have a support and a bug report section where people can report any issues they're having. We also have a dedicated GitHub, which everybody has access to. Everybody can see it. You don't need an account to look at it, so that you can see all these individual fixes and individual issues that are going up. The ticket system does work. We have tested it extensively, myself, Hiki, and Game Master Mullich. We have got all the issues that Cataclysm brought, cough, removed from it as well, so they are working. And these tickets, even in the PTR phase, are being manned by myself, Game Master Tide, and Game Master Hiki.
I'm sure the developers and Gaga won't like me saying this, but one of the things that I think is really important when it comes to bug testing is making it easy and convenient for players. Most servers will say, oh, post on the GitHub, and the player will respond, I don't have a GitHub account, I don't want to make one, I'm just telling you what's wrong with your server. The conversation gets dropped there, so this server is continuing to be bugged, but now the problem isn't reported. I don't think that this is a player's responsibility. I think it's the server's responsibility to make sure the server isn't bugged, which is why we offer a number of different ways to report bugs, such as in Discord, which I think is one of the easiest ways to do it. Definitely annoys our developers, but I think that a reported bug is better than an unreported bug.
I agree. And whenever someone posts a bug onto Discord, myself and the other game masters will test it and confirm it, and then it's our responsibility to move it onto the GitHub. Players who have a GitHub account are more than welcome to do it themselves, but like Foss said, this is just easier for players. We don't expect you guys to have several accounts for different things especially when the upkeep of the server and the bug fixes are the devs and ours as the staff responsibility.
And like you mentioned, people won't make an account then if you tell them make an account and post it there, so that's a good solution.
Yeah, it's just an inconvenience, and anything that we can do to remove that inconvenience and streamline the process, it makes our devs a bit happier, and it'll make our players happier at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, that goes back to the faction balance pretty much. Will you have something like a faction balance meter on your website or somewhere else?
Oh, we will for sure. I think that, anytime servers start to hide things, like instead of posting their real-time faction balance and they instead say this is the faction balance with the last 24 hours or the last week and stuff like that, it's misleading, it's intentional, misleading. So yeah, in my perspective, we should have a faction balance meter right on front page of the website, because while I said we're confident that there won't be faction imbalance, if there is, then that is something that we should put attention to. And I hope that our community will put pressure on, because really the accountability ends with us, and giving players the info they need to know is important, not just like hiding it like a lot of servers do.
Regardless of what the players choose, I will always be a Worgen. You will always have an Alliance player.
Will there be some sort of pre-made queue systems for battlegrounds?
Cataclysm features rated battlegrounds, which is by default pre-made. We will probably allow people to queue together in unrated battlegrounds. If it becomes a problem, it's something we'll probably address. I know in the past there have been some pre-mades that are intentionally trying to ruin the experience for other people, so we would really kind of tighten down on that. But yeah, I'd say so. I'd say there's not going to be a unique pre-made queue, if that's what you mean. We're not going to, that's more rated battlegrounds, but I guess I would consider rated battlegrounds the pre-made queue. But as far as unranked, it would probably just be a mix.
Will boosting services be allowed?
I think the answer's no, but I'm not too sure what you mean by boosting. Could you clarify?
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much those who want to sell their services pretty much. Like you are a tank and you want to sell your service to others.
Yeah, see, that's a tricky one. I old school me says, yeah, of course, boosting's fine. New, like modern me says that boosting has become so toxic. Same with GD, KP. Both of them totally fine back in the day. No, nothing was wrong with them. But now they've become just absurdly toxic. They get spammed nonstop. People use them as an avenue for real money trading. It just becomes such a massive problem, which I really don't think it needs to be, but it is. So for those reasons, no, boosting services won't be allowed here.
That's really good, because that's exactly that. Back in the day, there weren't too many people doing it, so it was kinda okay. But yeah, I mean, if you look at retail WoW or something like this is just a bit much.
Yeah, exactly. You have to look into the health of the community, and when it becomes like that's all people are talking about in a channel chat, that's no good.
This would be another question. Pretty much, some people would have then a concern if they could boost a friend. Is this allowed?
I mean, like that's if you're doing it not as a service, just as like I'm helping a friend. There's no problem with that. That's just being a friend,
I can't remember the last time I leveled up without getting boosted by a friend.
Yeah, especially with guilds too. Guilds do that all the time. So no, that'd be a little bit unreasonable. We're mostly, when you say boosting services aren't allowed, it's more of a deterrence for public advertising. If people are doing that kind of stuff, I mean, if they get reported, we crack down on it, but they'd have to have proof that it's a service and not just helping out a friend.
Sounds good. You mentioned RMT. Pretty much RMT and botting are then hunted down and banned, pretty much.
Oh, for sure. One of the things that's going to be really interesting that I'm really excited to see with our server is client-side anti-cheat. something that we're still working on. It's not perfect, but servers without launchers, they can only have anti-cheat on the server side. They can't do anything at all with the client besides examine, make sure that, that's like when Warden, for example, will ban people for using client modifications like see-through mods and stuff like that to see mining nodes. With our launcher, we're able to implement client-side anti-cheat, which, to give a TLDR botting, most bot programs hook themselves up to the client. They attach themselves to the process, and at that point, they can kind of manipulate the input of the game, and that's how botting works. Having a client-side anti-cheat means that we have an anti-cheat that's listening to what is happening to the client, which means that people can probably develop their way around this, but any old school bot that you can just Google real quickly to use is not going to work on our server. So I think that's really going to eliminate a strong amount of botting.
You mentioned modifications. Would that be okay if people would use the newer models or some other mods? Like, for example, some people want to play with a nude character. Would that be possible?
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I think I can answer the first part. So the updated models is something that Gaga, our head dev, the owner as well, is working on the launcher at the moment. And I have asked this question because I'm a big fan of the updated models. It is going to be implemented as part of a new launcher patch, and it will be completely optional, so players can use it if they want, or they can't. Nude mods, I mean, that's not really my place. Foster, you take the rein on that one. This is a little bit personal.
Well, yeah, as Sylah mentioned, we are going to have modern patches available just natively to our client. But yeah, if you were someone that's more of a modder, or you like the modding community and you see, these druid transformation models, they have, I like it from this patch, and I'm going to just download this. That'll work just fine. That's no problem. And I suppose the same goes for not safe for work models. But things like morphing, if you're using like a morphing program, I would just say use at your own risk. That's usually the standard server policy, is use at your own risk.
All right, fair enough.
But I would say if you're caught using a nude mod, then it wouldn't be us, but you should definitely go to horny jail.
You're getting bonked on the nose for sure.
Oh, Foster, can we have a mega bonk emote scripted in? That'd be brilliant.
Yes, a server-wide announcement.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you're getting caught, and then everybody knows.
I'd be down for that.
So it's pretty funny, to be honest. I think this will make a lot of people happy. That's pretty cool, especially with the newer models.
Yeah, I think that, old models, they're starting to become dated. I know that some people love it, but a lot of people are, they want the newer version. I think eventually, when we become more of a developed server, we will have those more modern models enabled by default, and then create an option for the old models, kind of flip the script.
Yeah, that's cool. I like both.
Yeah, I think it's important to have the option.
The old models are definitely nostalgic. This is going to sound horrible. I like the new models because, again, Worgen player, updated Worgen model is really cute. I'm just going to put it out there and say it.
I mean, you play Final Fantasy XIV, so I completely understand.
Oh, there we go. Yes. I don't have modded clients, I swear.
For sure. Would be alt-tabbing allowed as in multiboxing?
So we've had a long discussion about this. The consensus we have, and Foster, again, correct me if I've missed the script on this one, is alt-tab multiboxing, if it's one account, is perfectly fine. If it's like, say you have a max level druid on one account and you want to boost up your own, say, warlock that's level 17, you can do that no problem. But multi-boxing, like we see on bigger servers, I won't name names because I don't know what the legalities are of naming other servers in your videos, but where multiboxing is a rife problem, we're talking someone on an account, they've got like 5 druids, 5 death knights, all in one. Absolutely not. That will be, I believe this is something we are catching and we have made a punishable offense. But again, Foster, you can correct me on that one.
Nope, you're mostly right. I would distinguish between alt-tabbing and multiboxing, because alt-tabbing is, just having 2 clients open, switching back and forth. That is totally fine with up to 2 characters, so you can have 2 clients open at the same time and play with them together. We do not allow those 2 characters to join RDF or any public groups. We draw the line there, or battlegrounds or anything like that. It shouldn't worsen people's experience, And as far as multi-boxing, like using programs or anything like that, we consider it no different than botting. Multi-boxing players use some form of script to automate multiple characters at once, so I'm surprised that servers that don't allow botting allow multi-boxing like that.
Yeah, but it sounds good. It's not really fun if you get hit by 6 pyroblasts at the same time, so...
Or 10 boomkin druids with dragon wrath.
Oh god, yeah.
I believe that is what people would call the Sarbamba.
Would it be allowed to have another account for banking and auctioneering?
I would say yes. I mean, that's pretty much tying into what we said earlier about having just 2 characters. I mean, if you want to do it on a different account, if you want to do it on, an alt character, I would say that's fine. But again, Foster, this is down to you.
Yep, that goes right in line with alt-tabbing. You could have one alt sitting in the bank, or sitting in an auction house, just doing auctions, and at the same time have one character out questing. That's totally okay.
Don't get it the wrong way, but in case of corruption, how will you guys handle this situation?
Well, to be honest, I have been, as I mentioned earlier, a staff member at many different projects. One of the things I kind of pride myself on is rooting out corruption and power abuse of staff. That is one of my very, very prime focuses. I don't want any of our staff to kind of derail the game. I think that it's kind of the slimiest thing a person can do is affect players in such a massive way by giving, friends advantages, just otherwise messing with the server. So yeah, we have absolutely no tolerance towards any sort of power abuse or anything like that. Whenever we bring on game masters or anyone, we very, very explicitly tell them that all of their actions, including chat, will be logged, and that we have 2 lead GMs regularly examining those logs. So we will have a very, very tight system that leaves very little wiggle room for corruption.
Those 2 GMs that audit the logs, they are pretty much neutral. They are not really like, let's say, an IRL friend or something like that.
No, they were both game masters from previous servers. I've grown to know them pretty well professionally. I don't know them really personally. I think that they're solid support staff, and in the case, hypothetically, if one of them is corrupt, that is where I come in, and I am kind of overseeing everyone, including the lead game masters.
Even though all of us in the support team are very close, as in, we all get along very well, most of our relations is strictly professional, so we are trying to keep it on that ground that there will be no corruption for that end. And for myself, I came from you probably heard the name. I came from Monster WoW as a GM, and corruption was rife there. I'm sorry if you need to edit that name out, but
no,
that's just
totally fine.
And I was very surprised when Foster brought me on and told me his plans for the GM team, and the moment he told me, I was all for it.
To be honest, I don't think that you can eliminate corruption. I don't think that you can just guarantee everyone is a strict shooter and no one has ulterior plans. I think what's important is transparency and accountability. I think a lot of servers have really failed on this by kind of covering it up or acting like it wasn't an issue, or just trying to move on, trying to not put attention or focus to it. I think that does a disservice to the community, because then it becomes a black box that players they feel like they can't really trust the people in charge. So in the case that corruption does happen here, players will know fully the extent of what happened and what we did to recover.
That's good. I still have to ask this. Who would look over you though, Forster, then? Is there someone?
Well, we have two administrators. So Gaga kind of is watching over me, and I'm kind of watching over Gaga. I mean, in my personal opinion, outside of this server, I think that everything staff do should be publicly available. That's just a personal opinion. I don't think that we're going to be doing that here, but I'm in the boat of full transparency. So I don't want to say you can trust me, source, just trust me, but just trust me.
I can actually confirm that we all do talk within our guild group for the Whitemane staff team, and both Gaga and Foster hold themselves accountable for everything. So anything that Gaga implements, Foster may challenge it, and vice versa. So we do have a great team dynamic, and there is no room where things can't be scrutinized.
Okay. I mean, there needs to be trust in general, because at some point you don't have someone who can then look after the other, because it ends there pretty much. So, but the approach with like that you are transparent and open and will let people know when something happens, that is already a pretty good sign to me.
I mean, you can trust me. I give everyone cake.
I am just a bit cautious now. If you're interested, I was involved in another project. I did like 50 videos on that project. I was really excited. And they had like one lead developer who did pretty much all the development work on the game, and they treated him like complete dog shit. And then they tried to assassinate his character, and the lead of this project wasn't accountable, or because it's pretty much his fault when stuff goes sour. And they weren't really open, that rubbed me really off the wrong way. And I am already glad that you said that transparency is key. I believe that as well. What I personally would love, I know there are sensitive data in these logs, for example, the IP addresses. What I would love is that the community could also actually could look over these logs. I mean, the IP addresses need to be hidden, of course, or email addresses or stuff like this. But if this could be maybe implemented at some point, I know this is a huge headache, but maybe the blockchain, maybe something can be achieved with that at some point. I would love to have that for transparency's sake, like in general for projects,
Yeah, for sure. Going back on what you said a little bit, I definitely keep up with everything going on different servers, and I could see what happened with Everlook, and I understand, sometimes on the back end, things don't work as cleanly and smoothly as they like to put in the front. I can understand that there were those kind of differences, but really what rubbed me the wrong way about everything that happened was the discrediting of their lead developer. That, you can't say this is your lead developer and then go on to say he didn't do much, because what does that say about yourself? I think they really biffed the accountability there. I'm only mentioning that because I personally, what I care about with servers is that kind of level of accountability, is not discrediting people, understanding their strengths and their weaknesses, not just focusing on their weaknesses when it's advantageous to you and their strengths when it's advantageous to you. I think the full picture is what matters, and that extends to transparency within the staff and what's happening internally. As you said, we can't really disclose everything. I do think that we can create a system that will disclose more than most do, and that's something I definitely look forward to. We just don't have anything right now.
Yeah, that's understandable.
We can definitely have a good discussion about that, and also in terms of the IP addresses for full transparency, Vincent. The only GM levels that can see the IP addresses are anyone of lead GM status and higher. So, for example, myself being a ticket game master, I cannot see anyone's IP address. So this is another safety feature that we have if we bring someone on as staff and they are a little bit naughty.
Yeah, that sounds good. So they pretty much have an entry level access, and then if they do good, they get elevated, I guess. Then.
Yeah, I believe once the server launches, I will lose a bunch of my commands that I have access to. All game masters on the server right now have developer rights, but when the server releases, my access, Mullich's access, even the league GMs to an extent will be restricted to the point where we cannot cause any damage, or even if we want to, we're unable to.
All right. Yeah, sorry. I don't mean it in a bad way, but I think a lot of people are interested in that. And yeah, I need to be a little bit more cautious since I do videos on that stuff, you know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I would love to see, Foster, if you and me want to take it into the group chats at some point where we can maybe dev a system for this. I think that's, if the players really want it, then who are we to say no?
Oh no, I completely agree. I will say that, yeah, bring my experience into this. I've seen the strengths and weaknesses of many different large servers. I bring that here specifically with how we give access to commands and permissions that only the people that have proven to be trusted with commands and everything will have that permission. But yeah, I do think that there should be more transparency. There's no reason there isn't.
Yeah, I mean, if you aren't transparent with your community, people will fill in the blanks, and that won't go well usually.
Definitely.
But that makes me happy. I think a lot of people will make this happy as well. Which were the biggest challenges you guys faced so far?
I think I'll go first. So for me personally, being someone with a very big PvE background, so raiding and such, it was getting a dedicated tester group in to actively test every single nook and cranny of dungeons. That was very difficult at first to set up, but now that we have it, I think even Foster will back me up on this. It's sped up all of our testing, all of our bug fixes. Everything's just gotten a lot faster now, and we're seeing even things that we wouldn't have even thought about the first couple of times have been brought to light very, very quickly. In fact, even our lead dev, Gaga, did say that the amount of things that he's seen the tester group come out with has been incredible.
Yeah, that was definitely a challenge at first, and I think it's something that we can continue to improve on, and definitely are. We're in a good place now, and we can only get better with that. On my perspective, on an administrator level, creating a new project really requires us to put a lot of trust into different people that we are not too familiar with. We had that open application phase for staff members, and because when we first started this project, it was just me and Gaga. It meant that we had to put our trust in people that we weren't, fully experienced with, and we had lots of different applications, and really trying to figure out who the people are that care about the server, that want that dedication, that passion that they're going to bring to the team. That's really what I care to see in a project, is representing the exact message of the project within themselves. And that's a big challenge to do with random people online. That's really hard. Right now, I'm so happy with the team we created. It's a very small team still, and I'm going to be looking to expand it, but I'm thoroughly impressed so far with the amount of motivation and passion for the game, the server that our current team has. But it was definitely a challenge learning to trusting people. We had a couple little run-ins, so it was tense a little bit at first. But
Yeah,
I think
a wee bit.
I think things mostly have smoothed out.
Yeah, we've all got our processes in place. We know our direction, and yeah, I'm actually very grateful that Game Master Malik is on the team. Absolutely fantastic PvP Game Master, and Fireboy as well. Rank 1 player to do that, and I think everyone starts to love me because I now have someone on the PTR who called themselves Sylah Admirer.
Another addition to the harem, I guess, then.
There we go. Yeah, soon I'll be taking over the server, just you wait. I'm just kidding. Foster, please don't fire me.
Is there something else you would want people to let know?
I think I've said all I need to. I mean, we'll definitely endeavor to make we want to stand out, be the best Cataclysm server out there, and you'll know where to find us if you need us.
Yeah, I would just like to end saying, there are a couple different options for Cataclysm servers, and it's not, the elephant in the room is that we have a lot of players kind of looking around, wondering where they'll stick, not really sure about the futures of any of them. I know that we still have a lot of work to do on our server, but I think that the amount of passion we're putting into the game, the amount of fixes we're putting in, the speed and pace and the dedication there, it's not something that we are going to stop after launch. I think players are going to see, level of personality we're bringing to the server. We want to have tons of events. We want to have community engagement nonstop. I don't think there's any team in most private servers that will go to the level we do of engaging with our community. I think that, when we create servers, it's about what players want and not what we want, and we're going to really embrace that here.
Just to quote one of the things that we say, and I fully believe this, and it goes back to the player first model, is that everything we do, we'll do it together.
That's a good policy to have.
Oh yeah, actually, speaking about that, one of the things that I decided when creating this server and creating the team is what we call a player first model, which is going above and beyond what most servers do in terms of support. There's a lot of times that people will say, we only handle ninjas in raids and not hero dungeons, or that was you accidentally sold that item, too bad, you have to live with the consequence. It's just like a lot of times people are just like, and servers staff, they're just power tripping. There's no reason if someone makes a mistake and it's a mistake to be like, oh, sorry, well, too bad, when we can do something about it. So I think that one of the massive things that we're going to have on the server, I don't care what content someone ninja'd. I know that if someone ninja'd stockades, and this is a player who's playing for the first time, well, that stockade loot really matters to them. Even if someone that's a veteran player is like, it's just level whatever gear, it's nothing. You shouldn't care about that, but it matters to those people. So I am going to go above and beyond to assure, everyone is happy in terms of support, regardless of the situation, which a lot of servers don't really care about.
And I'm all about I remember my first ever interaction back in the day, back when I was a leveling priest player on retail WoW. My very first interaction with the GM left me with such a smile on my face, and I want players, when they speak to us in the support team, to feel that way, the way I felt many moons ago. They felt that they were cared for, and that's personally what my endeavor is as a game master.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I've been on so many servers. I've seen so many things of how people are treated. Like someone gets scammed, right? They lose their account credentials. Someone goes on their account and logs and deletes all their gear, and they get banned right after because someone, maybe a gold spammer, has gone compromised their account. That account will get unbanned. They'll say, all right, you need to turn on two-factor authentication. We'll unban you, but you're SOL for your gear. And it's like, meanwhile, this is your like mid progression. Your full raid gear is now gone. It's like, how are you going to recover from that? There's no, you don't even have money. You don't have gear. You have nothing. How are you supposed to really get back into the game? You can't. You're just screwed. You have to rely on other people. Maybe they'll help you out, because no one's going to let someone into their raid or their dungeon that has no gear. It's just not going to happen. So I've seen these server policies that do those kind of things, and what a surprise, that person never logs in again. And why? It's something that we can fix. So that's something that I really care about, and that I'm going to be bringing to this server, is that level of commitment to the players.
That sounds really good. I have another question in that regard. Will you guys show yourself as GMs then? When there's an, I would submit a ticket or something like this, and would you actually pop up right before me?
I see no issue with that. In fact, I do that already to most people. I think most of the mysticism about being a game master is this hidden person who's helping out, but I have no problem appearing in front of a player and, giving them a slice of cake, maybe a wee dance, having a good chat. It's something, in fact, when I first got hired on as a game master, Foster will be able to confirm this, I spent the majority of my first couple of days while getting to know my role, actually visiting leveling players and introducing myself and seeing how they were getting on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's important to retain a level of professionalism within the support team, but I also think that going too far into that, like how servers pretend their staff are robots, it's just too much, It's nonsense. Everyone on these servers, they're all human. Everyone's a person. There's no robot here. So humans acting like humans, there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, it makes it a great de-escalation measure when people are annoyed and upset.
Yeah, I think so too. Please don't change that, because there are some projects that believe everything needs to be hidden, but I believe, I heard that from other people, and I personally like that more if actually a human pops right before me and talks to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really a balancing act and everything in moderation. If there's some staff members that are, we have tickets piling up, people are getting frustrated and they're just, off chatting. Well, there's a line that is drawn there, But as far as like having personal connection, like that personality, being personable, there's nothing wrong with that. And people that think there's something wrong with that, there's something wrong with them.
That's pretty good. I like that.
I mean, really, it's just like, it's no surprise that so many servers get these staff that are just, not that great. They have all these problems. They have these power abuse and corruption problems. It's because they're being forced into this role that they're like are robots. They need to send an automated script and do these things and like not be human. It's like, of course, these people are going to grow with resentment for the project, grow these negative feelings within that don't need to exist. I think every member of our team here is valued, knows they're valued, and is allowed to express themselves to the community, even if that expression doesn't always click with what our official server stance is.
The only automation you'll ever see from myself or any future players that ever do a ticket that I answer is the little intro message you get. Obviously, I've set that up, but after that, you'll be speaking to me. It'll be a real person. You can ask me how my day is, and I'll ask you how yours is.
That sounds good. Give me a second.
The excitement.
Yeah, it's always a little bit awkward if you just go over questions and stuff like that. But if you want to add something more, you can. Other than that, I don't really have much other than that.
Well, if I see anyone on the PTR and you wave me, you will probably get a slice of cake.
And I'm definitely an open book, so I don't think many administrators bring that to the team, but my DMs are always open. If anyone has any criticisms, suggestions, advice, anything, I'm always available.
There you go. That's pretty cool and important. So if you have trouble, just message the staff from Whitemane. Yeah, I would say that's pretty much it.
Well, thanks for having us, Vincent. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, same. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day, guys. Stay safe out there. Vincent out. Bye bye.